Hey everyone, this is Jen from JCats Creations, and today we are going to be doing a Ruffles style Christmas wreath. I had actually wanted to get this done a little bit earlier than now. Unfortunately, I've had a cold. I've been trying to wait till I've gotten over it so I didn't sound so much like a creepy old man. So I apologize in advance if I still sound a little congested, but this is pretty much as good as it's going to get right now. So I just wanted to get this done for you. So like I said, a ruffle style. So for that, I'm actually going to be using a work frame. It's pretty much the only style I will use a work frame for. I just like the spacing of the ties on the frame, and it's just a little bit easier. I've made my own frames with the spacing. It's kind of a pain. I only do that if I really actually have to. So I kind of cheat for the ruffle, and I use the work frame. This is a 15/24, which actually means that the frame itself without anything on it is 15 inches, and then the 24 part means that should be the approximate size of your finished wreath. I usually end up with closer to 25 or 26, but you know, it's still pretty much in that ballpark. So we're gonna use one of these, and I just recently used this mesh for the first time not too long ago, a fabric mesh. I actually want to give a shout out to my friend Shonda because I peppered her with questions about the fabric mesh. I thought it was really pretty. She had used it on a wreath, and I always liked it. I just never really had a reason to try it, and I loved it when I used it for the last wreath, so I wanted to use it again. So this is a 10 by 10 roll of the fabric mesh. I've actually got some extra because we're going to have to cut those up. Let's see, for ribbon, I think these are the ones I'm going to go with. I could change my mind, as we tend to do. So I think we're going to go with these ribbon. Now this is one of those Deco mesh ribbons, but it doesn't have foil in it. It's just regular. I didn't want to get too sparkly on this one because of the fabric mesh and the sign that I'm going to use. It's not glittery, so I just kind of wanted to keep that theme, so it made a little more sense. And then let's see, because the sign looks like this. It's one of these red truck signs that everyone's been loving lately. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get the red truck ribbon, so I kind of had to improvise with what I had. I think this was like $8 on eBay, and I actually got lucky because it's already got the holes in it, so it's going to be super easy to attach. Can't beat that. So I will also be using floral wire to attach the sign, and then my rotary cutter for the mesh, and scissors to cut the ribbon. So at this point, I'm going to get all my mesh cut up. I also, for the first time last time, tried the 10 by 30 inch pieces instead of cutting them each individually into 10-inch pieces or even 20-inch. I tried the 30-inch and I loved it. It is so much easier and it's so much faster. I'm not quite sure who started it, but whoever you are, thank you, because it is such a time saver and obviously so much less spray because you have so many less cuts too. So I'm going to get this cut up and then we'll be back. Okay, so I have all the mesh cut up now. Like I said, they are 30-inch pieces. I had to cut 18 of them because there are 18 ties on the work frame, and that equals 1.5 rolls of the 10 by 10 mesh. I just wanted to point out, if you're trying to keep your wreath at a certain price point, if you're selling it, or you know, even if you're just making it in general, the fabric mesh is a bit pricier than regular Deco mesh. It's about $7.75 a roll, I think. So like I said, you're obviously going to have to buy 2 rolls to use 1.5. So that's also why, you know, I'm not going real heavy on embellishments or anything else. I'm trying to keep a certain price point for this wreath, and you know, sometimes, you know, you put it all into the mesh or the ribbon or the sign, whatever, you know, you kind of have to compensate elsewhere. So I just kind of wanted to keep this a little bit simpler overall. So once you've got all of your pieces cut, like I said, you're going to need 18. And it is a little more awkward than I'm used to. I'm used to just the 10 by 10 pieces, so it takes me a little bit. So normally you just try to find your center line, which this is actually kind of nice with the checks that my center line is pretty much right here. And then you just start scrunching it all up. And obviously, you know, the 10 by 10, it's a little bit easier to hold to do this. I still kind of a little sloppy at it just because I've only done this once before. But overall, it's a lot less work and a lot less fright because you're dealing with a lot of, you know, edges that aren't cut like it would be normally. So you just have your ruffle. Doesn't have to be perfect by any means. Once everything's on here, you're never going to notice if something's, you know, not exactly lined up. So I always start on the outside. Doesn't matter which way you want to go. And then you just put it in. And give it like 2 good twists, because we're going to be going back into half of these. It's 18 ties, and I'll be putting ribbon into 9 of them. So as you can see, it's just nice and fluffy. You know, none of it ever looks that impressive until it's pretty much all done. So, you know, you just got to keep going. And I'll do another one to show you guys. I won't make you watch me do them all because it's kind of boring. But just so you have an idea, like I said, just kind of try to find the center line and just start scrunching it up. And just a nice big ruffled piece. The fabric mesh is really, really nice to work with. It's really soft, and it holds a nice shape with the ruffle, I think. So I was really happy with finally deciding to try it. And like I said, just like 2 twists right now. And I usually just kind of fluff them up a little bit. I try to tuck the cut edges in and under, you know, just so they're not hanging out. And curl them under a little bit. That hides it all. So that's that for now. That's 2 of them. And so I'm going to do the rest of the wreath, and then I'll be back. Okay, so as you guys can see, I've got all of the ruffles on the wreath now. I'm holding my phone so I could try to get a full view of it. Once you put all the ruffles on, it gets pretty big. But I just wanted to show you how full it is compared to using 3 separate pieces. I don't see any difference in the fullness. I think it's still really nice. The ruffles come out good. I mean, I have no complaints at all with doing the 10 by 30 inches. As you can see, it's still really thick, deep wreath. So I'm very happy with doing it this way. So just wanted to show you guys a little bit of a close-up of that. You know, it doesn't look gappy. I mean, nothing. It fills it in really nice. So I'm going to put you back in the holder now, because at this point we can get into cutting some ribbon. That aside a little. I've got most of it cut, but I'm just going to show you guys quick how I do it. I know I had showed also in my poof tutorial. It's just 2 pieces of cardboard. It's hard to show it all, but it's 2 pieces of cardboard measured 14 inches long. I just tape them together on the ends. and I just wrap the ribbon around that as many times as I need to. And it's a pretty cheap, quick, easy way to get your ribbon measured out. So I only need 4 more right now. And you just cut. And I pinch the edges here on either end before I take it off. So then I have that little pinch mark and I know where to cut it. And just a quick way, like I've said before, if it's not really thick ribbon, you know, sometimes you could do up to 3 or 4 pieces. This is kind of thick, so I'm just going to do 2 at a time. But to get the chevron or dovetail edge, whatever you like to call it, you cut from the folded out, and that's how you get that. And you just do it on either end. As I said, even like this one, I'm doing 2 at a time. As I said before, any more than 1 at a time is faster. So whatever you can do, it's definitely helpful. Okay, so like I said, there's 18 ties on this frame. I'm going to put ribbon in every other tie, so I've got 9 pieces of each one. And just quickly, I don't think I said it specifically, but I did get the frame and the fabric mesh are from Craft Outlet. This ribbon, one of the ones I'm going to use, this green one, is actually, it's really nice and thick. I didn't expect it to be. This one's also from Craft Outlet. There's the item number if you want to check it out. And this Deco mesh one, I've had this one for a really long time. I don't use it very often. It's kind of hard sometimes to find wreaths to use this in. And actually it's on here, Paper Mart. I had gotten this a while back, but I'm sure they probably still carry it if you're interested in checking that out. And then the other two may look pretty familiar to a lot of you. The Members Mark brand, which is Sam's Club, and they put their Christmas ribbon out. You get they used to be all 50-yard rolls, but now they've snuck in that some are 25 instead of the 50, so you really got to look when you're buying them. Whether it's the 25 or the 50-yard now, it's still it's like, I don't know, $6.96 or $6.97, so basically $7, which is still a great deal even at 25 yards. And I've been buying it for a couple of years. I've never had a problem with any of it. It's always really nice, really good quality ribbon. So if you have a Sam's Club in your area, I definitely recommend checking that out, because that does help save you a lot of money. You can make a lot of wreaths with that kind of yardage for that money. So now we get into start putting in the ribbon. Just fix this. There we go, that's a little better. Okay. So I'm just going to pick a tie and undo it. And since I've got 4 ribbon, so I'm going to take 1 of each. As I said, I didn't get into glitter. I didn't get too crazy with this one. A lot of it, I really like the fabric mesh. I think it speaks for itself. You know, some wreaths I kind of want to highlight the mesh. Some wreaths I want to highlight the ribbon. So on this one, I really do think it's pretty mesh. So I didn't get too crazy with my ribbon choices. Let's see, I think green. white, and the black, and then the red. I think I like that. So as you can see, I kind of crisscrossed, stacked them, try to line them all up in the middle as much as possible. And then I just take them and scrunch them all together. This does not have to be perfect by any means. I just find it, you know, if I kind of line them up and get them all scrunched up the way I like them, it's a little bit easier once I actually get them in the tie. So I just take the little bundle, get it in here. Do 2 good twists on it now. It's not going to go anywhere. I kind of fluff them all up. Everyone's got their way. Some people just put them all in and go, and then they fluff it all up after, or, you know, do it as you go like I am right now. Whatever works for you, it doesn't matter. And then if you haven't worked with a work form, you'll notice that you know, they'll get kind of floppy. You see it's got some play in it, and you know, if you try to leave it like that, you know, it could be bad enough where it really does, you know, kind of flop out far. So what I started doing, I do it on the proof wreath too, more or less to clean it up. But on this one, it's more so to kind of keep it tight. I go to the next bar in with this end of the twist. And then I wrap this one around the outside. I'll flip it over quick here so you guys can see. So as you can see, I've wrapped it around the next bar. I find that it gives it a little more secure of a hold than just wrapping it around the bar that it's on, because if you do that, it can still get a little floppy. Sometimes it's not enough to be that big of a deal. It's more or less, it just bothers me. So it's just something I started doing a while back, but I find it kind of pulls it in nice and tight. And I just twist it together and just kind of push it in out of the way so it doesn't scratch anything. And I just kind of, you know, fix everything back up. I can spend a lot of time fluffing ribbon, but I guess, you know, once again, that's just me. That little perfectionist part comes out sometimes, and it's hard to move on to the next one. So, but that's the idea of that, like I said, you know, spend however long you want fluffing them all and fixing them all up. Since I'll be doing every other one, so the next tie, I'm just going to take it, and even though there's no ribbon in it, but I still wrap it around that next bar in there, just to keep everything nice and tight. And I also do this as I'm going along, because if I don't do it now, I'll forget. So it's a little bit easier. You can see how it pulls it in a lot tighter, and just twist it. And just kind of fix it all up, put it back where it was, and go on to the next one. So I'll do one more ribbon for you guys. It's okay, you know, to untwist it and leave it for a minute like that. It's kind of, you know, all smushed down in there now. It's not going to go anywhere. Okay, got them all pinched together. And pay attention, like I just wasn't, because sometimes you don't place them, and between the tie right, you could end up not catching one. I almost just did that. I can usually kind of, you know, fluff them up too. As I said, it's just stuff it's a little different, everybody what they like to do, their little method with getting it in there and fluffing it up. And sometimes you gotta dig a little bit to find that bar. There we go. Let's find that next bar. A lot of times I don't always necessarily worry about how tight they are on the inner row, because they're not floppy like the outer row. A lot of times I'll just kind of tuck the ties down and wrap them around a little. I don't worry about those as much. They don't usually move around like the outside row does. So that's that. So I've done 2. So I'm going to go around and finish off the rest. I will have a total of 5 on the outside row and 4 on the inside. So once I've got that done, I'll come back and then we'll work on getting the sign on. Okay, so I've got the sign all attached now, and I'm going to show you guys what I did. I didn't want to make you watch me have to put the sign on. Sometimes it can take a little bit, but this was actually really simple. I don't know if you remember, I told you that we had put 4 ribbon on the inside, and since there's 8 ties, there are 4 spaces that I had just tucked the ties down and that were left open. So on a sign like this that's square, and like I said, luckily it already had the little holes in it, pretty much just to make sure that this was, you know, pretty centered and where I wanted it to be, all I did was take floral wire on each corner and I just wrapped it down around the tie. Let's see, I'm trying to show you guys down in there. Try to get the light on it. See, that's where the tie is. I just wrapped the floral wire around each one. So this was actually pretty simple, where, you know, you didn't have to get too crazy with where you're going to go with it and how you're going to center it up and everything. So as of right now, I just have the wire. I left it sticking out so I could show you guys. Let's see, here's one of them. And I'll just go back and secure those and tuck them in so they don't scratch anything. But it worked out pretty well on this one, where, like I said, I didn't have to worry too much about, you know, getting it centered and lined up, because it was all pretty much there for me already. So at this point, I'm just going to leave it as is. You know, I didn't want to get too crazy with embellishments on this one. I wanted to keep it fairly simple. So I'm just going to hang it up on the wall. And I'll hold my phone for a minute so you guys can see everything. Okay. Just bear with me, but I need to do this to get a wider shot. So that is the finished product. I've got some ribbon, well, because I just had it flipped over. But I'll fluff those up a little bit when I take pictures. But that's pretty much it. You know, just kind of the basic ruffle technique with just ribbon and a sign. Like I said, personally, I didn't want to get, you know, too much into it. I wanted to keep this one pretty simple. I did measure it. The finished size is 26 inches in diameter, and it's about 8 inches deep at, you know, the highest point of the ribbon. So it does end up being a pretty good size wreath, you know, for what you started out with. So I just wanted to take a second and thank everybody for watching. Like I said, I always appreciate if you guys have suggestions on what you want me to do next or any questions. You can obviously always leave them in the comments or just anything. You know, let me know what you think, what's going on. If you like what you saw here today, subscribe and give me a like. And always you can follow me on Facebook at JCats Creations, on Pinterest at JCats Creations, and Instagram is JCats Creations Wreaths. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.